Guys, what profession would you not date? Any overpassed job. Nothing wrong with it, but it does make it much harder to actually spend time with my partner. Anyone who thinks their MLM scheme is a profession sounds like someone doesn't want their life changed with a pair of leggings. That documentary was so fascinating, lol. I could Google it but I'm lazy. What documentary? Lularich on Prime now. Highly recommend it. Reddit mod. It's okay, you can be a dog walker on the side. Aspiring philosophy professor. Laziness is a virtue. I catch myself saying this a few days ago when I'm feeling lazy, and then I remembered where it comes from and cringed. Somebody else in the medical field have done it before, and you end up just bitching about work till it becomes redundant. I would also add that the medical field is very tough for anyone because of the unusual hours they work. I hold an 8 to 5 day job and my wife works 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. and we have 3 kids. The lack of togetherness is really destroying the marriage, as well as other problems. I hope you guys can work on things. Not a profession, but my ex played handball. Whatever she threw at me always hit. Watch out for tennis players too. Love means nothing to them. Jesus. That is top level dad joke. It's almost too clever. In fact, it's so clever, I don't get it. An MLM rep. If you actively fall into one at this stage with everything we know about them, that's a major red flag. Influencer. Been there. Started out fine, but as time went on their influencing became more popular. Ended just being dragged around to take pictures or videos. The free stuff or events were good though. I remember one time at a gig she was live streaming it and someone tapped her on the shoulder saying, "OMG, I'm watching you right now." Like, for real. You're at a gig watching someone live stream the same gig? WTF is wrong with people? As I resisted being the live-in photographer, the relationship went downhill as I didn't support her, I did. But let's be real. We never spent any real time together that wasn't broadcast out to the world and I hated it. Never again. Same. Man. I dated an Insta girl and it was unbearable. The crazy need for validation was off the charts, as were the emotional outbursts. I love taking images for a memory bank, but constantly taking pictures is so irritating and pulls you out of the moment. It just feels so fabricated. Your comment about being a live-in photographer was spot on. It's also incredibly embarrassing to be on vacation and be forced to do mini photoshoots constantly, just so they don't have a tantrum. When I realized that she was void of a personality, I left, and my life improved significantly. This is honestly so sad. I don't have any social media except a FB for messages, but I couldn't imagine dating a girl who worries more about what the internet thinks of her than her actual real life. Lawyer. It's too scary when we break up. As a lawyer, they also work way too much. As a family lawyer, a commercial lawyer, not only would we not get anywhere, but we'd use different logic and arguments and drive each other crazy. Wow. So I went on a first date with a lawyer last night and we did not hit it off. We were making small talk and he kept questioning my motives and my decisions, and it was very off-putting. It wasn't until reading your comment that I fully understand why the date tanked. I kept thinking this is the kind of guy to argue with a cop if he gets arrested. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Wow. TBH, it's also the type of law. If they're from a more adversarial background than transactional or collaborative areas, then I can imagine it's different. It's not their fault. It's the way we learn to look at the world. He probably wouldn't argue with a cop, TBF. He'd calmly refer them to the black and white legislation and ask, so what law am I breaking? Drama theater people. Dated a girl who was a singer in multiple plays/shows. She was more dramatic in real life than on the stage. I dodged a bullet with that one. Can confirm. Dated an aspiring actress in college. Interested mainly in plays for a few years. Beautiful. Funny. Sweet but chaotic AF. Selfish and only had drive for her acting. Ended up cheating on me, dodged a bullet. Married a special ed teacher and her soul and everything about her is wonderful and beautiful. I'm a lucky man. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Dated 2 theater girls. Exactly this. Both interested in only their passion and lifestyle. Next to no wiggle room. Also a very incestuous group of people. Both their friend groups made it very clear at every moment they could that I was an outsider and not part of the theatrical group. Extremely one-sided. I would always be asking about their career and interests, what their favorite things about their art was. Favorite plays etc. Tons of passion, which was endearing of course. But they never for even a second reciprocated. When I would say some stuff I enjoyed, they never seemed to care in the slightest. Almost as if they were a sparkling ball of colors and I was a dull ball of grey lint in comparison. Never again. Holy shit. Rant over. Dude, 100%. Had the same experience. Divorce attorney. I don't want to be sitting in the courtroom knowing damn well she's got connections and will ruin me until I have nothing left. Hell nah. If she's a divorce attorney, it's likely that she'll try to avoid all the pitfall of her clients with you. Perhaps you'll have prenup or another series of contracts that would make any potential divorce between you moderately painless. At least, that's what I'd logically hope for. True, divorce and neighbor fights can drive people insane. I hope that I never have to go through that. Hitman. Social media influencer. It's very hard to date or marry a surgeon. Their life revolves around the hospital 24/7. You will be stuck raising the kids pretty much by yourself. And the kids' memories will mostly be hanging out with mom at work. Depends on the surgeon. I just rotated with a general surgeon who got out of trauma surgery after a few years because he got absolute zero time with his family. Now he is in his office 2 days a week. Schedules his surgeries for another 2 days out of the week. Takes off whenever he wants. Takes his family all over the world. Man is living it up. Yes, but that's after he's had his career established and doesn't have to put in his dues at the hospital. Medicine is unforgiving when you're starting out. Palm readers, aura readers, psychics, witches, priests, and especially mediums or people who talk to the dead. Has a family member who dated a priest for several years. When she realized that it didn't work and broke up, he went into crazy mode. Ended up as a genuine stalker. Really creepy and horrible. She ended up moving several times and spent way too much time in court. He ended up with several court ruling against him and he just didn't care and kept at it. We ended up going to the bishop to try and getting him and the church to do something. They ended up kicking him out after a couple of years. He still kept at it. It seriously ruined her life. Then one day, shortly before Corona hit, we had a small family gathering at her place. Then someone noticed him walking around the neighborhood. A bunch of us went there and confronted him with what the F he was doing there. He just played dumb and said he was looking at house nearby to buy. He had moved after her twice before at this point and we knew there was 2 nearby house for sale. Then someone just snapped at him, man. Well, I don't know if I'm proud of it, but it felt really necessary. We slapped him around for a god bit and made it certain that we would change him permanently if we ever saw him anywhere near her again. I think it worked because he legit seemed scared of us when he ran off. She hasn't heard or seen anything to him since then, so we hope it worked. Just sad that we needed to do that as the law and anything else just didn't work. Car salesman. The Harry Wormwood stereotype is still very much alive. I sold cars for a living for 10 years, even though I had an engineering degree from a great school. If you're very good, you can make $200k plus. I knew a woman making $300k selling cars, but the majority do make only $50-80k. The bad reputation stems from the ones making $50k. If you're not very good, and you don't make much money, that deal in front of you is very important to you. You start lying, exaggerating, and sometimes even doing illegal things. If you're making $200k a year, you've got so many leads and potential customers to get back to. You don't even risk the drama of lying. You just tell the truth, and if it's not a deal, you call the next hot lead on your list. I was going to comment this. Thank you for defending the good ones. Although, I kind of disagree on the $50k bit. At every dealership I've worked at, the worst ones are usually making way less, struggling to hit the first volume bonus, and so desperate for a deal they do a lot to avoid splits and end up creating a negative cloud that just kind of follows them. It sucks to watch TBH. Eventually left the floor for the finance office, and surprisingly, the same exact dynamic played out there. The guy at the bottom, despite the objective success they were having, was always under a microscope, and that led to questionable phrases and practices, as well as weird maneuvers against coworkers to try and get out from under the owner's thumb, or the owner's child/child-in-law, that will inevitably be running half the dealerships on the planet at any given time. Relator if you're a Timothy Oliphant fan. Oh man, that show deserved another season. Edit, Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix. It's hilarious horror comedy. I was thinking Justified, since that's where I heard him say it, but that show actually wrapped up very well, so I was confused. Influencer. I can't stand people recording and taking pictures of everything. A few days ago, I was in the gym using a rotary torso machine, and some influencer came over to yell at me for being too loud. I slowed down and dropped weight. She came back again to start yelling at me mid-rep. I saw her tripod set up nearby, so I must have screwed up her video. Tell her you're here having paid a membership to use the gym, which is a noisy place, so F off, or thereabouts. DJs. I'm a DJ since 20 years, and I agree. I never date DJs either, haha. Plumber. I'm the only one laying pipe in this relationship. Ma'am, I do my own plumbing. If you take care of my plumbing, maybe I could take care of your plumbing. I wouldn't date any. My wife would kill me. Property manager. Every single one I've ever met has been a shitty, vindictive person. Anything related to horses. I dated two riders, an eventer and a dressage champion. They were both definitely unlike their peers, so I lucked out. Dude, eventers are effing tense. You gotta be either brave or crazy to gallop full speed at a huge trench or immovable object on a horse that costs more than most people's yearly salary. Optometrist. Constantly with the "is this better or this?" Horse inseminator. She would just be disappointed. What about an animal puller? Doctor. I dated one previously, and she just had very little time to even live. If she wasn't on call for 24 hours, or working 14-hour shifts most days. It was especially bad as it was during the pandemic. I also work in the same place as some doctors, and I found they tend to come from a different world. The pandemic made me realize two things. I don't want to be a doctor no more, and I really enjoy free time for my hobbies which keep my depression at bay. I still can't get over how poorly doctors, nurses, support staff was treated during the pandemic. I know it's fulfilling to help another human, but I refuse to be spat at by an anti-vaxxer with limited PPE. Yeah, it's impossible to overstate how the pandemic ruined most of the medical field and providers. Sex workers. Then again, I don't think they would be interested in me. Same. It's not a judgment on their value as a person, but it does speak to us having different values around sex, which is a deal breaker. Strippers. Been there. Can't say I learned from my mistakes generally, so ditto. Did that more than once. Both were psychological train wrecks. My husband's ex from, like, over a decade ago was a stripper. She would send him underwear every year for Valentine's Day. The only reason it stopped is because we finally found out which family member had been giving her our damned address. Used underwear? For the love of, sorry you went through that. That relative giving out the address doesn't get a "we moved" card ever again. Professional selfie takers. Anything old med/homeopathic related. Sure, it helps some people, but as a scientist I just couldn't. Anything that is alternative medicine that works, we take and use it. Then it's called medicine. I hate Quakerips, //yow too. B/dvkagwxg. Agreed. Many modern medicine stuff started off from herbalism, and then we use science to figure out how it works and extract the active ingredient and also prove that it works with proper testing and trials. But I cannot stand homeopathy etc. with unproven methods and treatment, especially things that potentially can harm like forceful spinal manipulation etc. There are things in chiro that does have some effect that are proven, e.g. musculoskeletal stuff. but to treat non-related conditions by spinal manipulation does cross the line. I have seen people with serious conditions self-discharge from hospital convinced that they just have rib dislocation/sublux strips and need to see their chiro urgently, and certain naturopaths that puts people on lot of supplements which they are not deficient in the first place and have no proven benefit. I remember once a prominent chiro-oriented homeopathy person was interviewed. She was asked about whether their craft has proof. She responded that it works, and no proof required. When she was confronted with that, if a properly conducted trial prove that their method is not better than placebo because such study just got done and prove that it is quackery, would she still claim that it works? Her response was that the study design would be flawed because her craft just works. This is on Australian radio station ABC a few years ago. I was in a 7-hour spine surgery yesterday because the patient had a bad chiropractor.